I wonder if I could see a printout of your prayers for yourself in the last 20 years. What item would be top of your list? What would it be? Would it be for patience? Would it be for healing from long-standing health problems? Would it be for financial provision? Or if you've been unemployed, would it be for provision of new work? Would it be for family members to become Christians? Now, prayer needs can obviously alter over time and circumstances, and that's understandable, but one of the consistent prayers that I believe is needed at this time to bring before God is for wisdom. Wisdom. That's knowledge of what is true and right, coupled with just judgment and action. Pete recently preached a message on the power of risk, and towards the end of that message he spoke to us about our sense of purpose as individuals and churches in becoming history makers, to make a difference, to make a mark. And he used a phrase which I think is absolutely spot on. He spoke about our making a difference in our sphere of influence, and I'll come back to that shortly. Earlier in the same message, he'd mentioned some risk takers like Abraham, Noah, David, Daniel. Then he said, "You're not a Daniel," and he was right about that too, because you are a Pete, a Steve, a Sam, a Hillary, a Jan, a Pen, a Katrina, a Linda and a Vicky. Now, if I haven't mentioned your name, don't be cross with me, just add you to that list. Of course, the source of all wisdom is God himself, and Job gives us in chapters 38 to 42 a phenomenal summary of some of it. And James writes that if we lack it, we should ask God for it and not doubt, and we will receive it because God is generous. Now, I want to focus briefly to finish on one person who Pete did mention, and his name is Daniel. He was in a desperate situation, just to summarise. He was in Babylon, exiled. It was a traumatic period in the history of Israel. And in short, King Nebuchadnezzar is having problems with his dreams. And he calls all his magicians, his sorcerers, his enchanters and astrologers together. And he says to them, "You tell me the dream, you tell me the meaning." He doesn't say, "This is the dream, you tell me the meaning." Well, they're up in arms about it. And they say, "Oh, king, it's not possible." Well, the king's not happy. And he says to them, "If you can't do it, I'm going to execute you. Make your houses rubble." He issues an order for their execution. The commander of the king's guard is a man named Arioch, and he goes out looking for these wise men, including Daniel and his 3 friends. And it's at this point I want to focus on Daniel's wisdom. The first thing he does when Arioch gets hold of him is to ask him why the king has made such a hard, tough edict. Secondly, he goes and requests an audience with the king, and he makes a specific request to him for a little time. He goes home and tells his 3 friends, Shadrach, Meshach and Abednego, to call upon God, and they pray together. Prayer, that first point of contact that Emily reminded us of. God reveals the dream to Daniel. He gives wisdom to him, and Daniel praises God by saying, "He gives wisdom to the wise and knowledge to the discerning." Daniel was acting here with tremendous wisdom within the sphere of influence that he had. And look at the results of his wisdom. 1. He saves the lives of many people from being terminated. 2. He saves many properties from being destroyed. 3. He's made ruler over the entire province of Babylon, in charge of all the wise men, and 4, the other 3 musketeers, are appointed key roles and administrators. The entire nation of Babylon, fully and powerfully influenced and blessed by one man's wisdom and God's mercy. So, where's your sphere of influence? As Pete said, you're not Daniel, but you're you. Influence that sphere with the wisdom of God.